Hey, yo, Tracy, peace and love, sis, and thanks so much for this comment. It means everything to me. And for everybody who took the time to leave a comment and to watch the video, to like and share it, like I truly, truly appreciate y'all. And those that's been following me for a while, you know I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You know, and it's just something to be said. You guys, everybody was like, yo, that's powerful. Your testimony is powerful, because I read all the comments, but I just want to say to you guys, that the comments that you left are extremely powerful as well, right? Like they truly are. They carry weight. And I appreciate that, because it's a lot. Anytime you peel back the layers of something that's personal to you, you always run the risk of re-traumatizing yourself and others involved. So I appreciate the question or your concern when you say that I hope you and your ex-wife are healing from the trauma. And I want to say for sure, Queen, without a doubt. Like I wouldn't even came out here and did like this type of video like without checking in first and making sure that we good. Like that accountability list go straight like that, I gotta take care of self, family, and then I can come out to the community. So, I've sat down with Nikki like plenty of times. We had the phone conversation a couple of weeks, just talking about, cause we still got a co-parent, and just I took the time again, just to apologize again for offending her and, just my community, and my apology was heartfelt, but that wasn't enough for me. That wasn't enough for me, because that experience, like being in prison for that 10 years, like gave me a chance to sit down. That was the first time in my life that I like had ever stopped like the CD of my life, because you're moving so fast. Like that's the first time that I ever stopped, like sat down, rewind the tape, and then press play again from the beginning and just watch myself, and I ain't like what I saw. So, when I was incarcerated, that was my aha moment. That was my time. And then my mom being incarcerated at the same time was like a double aha moment for me. And when my mom had reached out, and wrote that letter to the warden, that like changed my life right there, like my mom being willing to take the time that I had on my sentence to put on hers, like that was an awakening moment for me. Like I had to grow up that day, because my mom was taking all accountability, like that's my fault. I left my children out there. If I was there, my son wouldn't be in this situation. And I was a grown man at the time, it was hitting me in the chest. And I'm like, no, that's not my mom's fault. Like, that's on me, right? And then when I was incarcerated, you start reading and you start learning about things like trauma, historical trauma, generational curses, and I started sitting in that. Like, man, I just repeated the cycle again. I like put my children through the same thing that I just went through. Like I left them out there, without their parents. So, I'm like in a unique situation. I'm a child that was left without a parent that was incarcerated. And then I end up repeating that cycle and going to jail and left my children out here, by themselves. So, when I was incarcerated, I had to look at all that. And when I did, after I did it, I told you I didn't like what I saw. And so I had to assassinate that man inside of me that was willing to go out there and raise a gun or do harm to a black woman, black man, or anybody for that matter, right? But specifically our black queens, because we already know that that's the most unprotected person on the planet. And to know that I did harm to that population, like I can't repay you enough. You know what I'm saying? I can't repay society enough. So that's why everything that I do is of service. Nines over nines. I hurt the community with a 9. I firmly believe that those that's closest to the problem is closest to the solution. So I owe that to the community to at least come back with a solution to help young men that may find themselves in the same situation, not being able to control or regulate their emotions, when in a relationship of any kind for that matter. And so in order to get abreast and come out here and give that to them accurately, as soon as I came home, after doing that 10 years, sitting down for 10 years straight, I had to sit down and come up with a strategic plan, like what you're going to do when you get home. You know, I had to design some type of system that was gonna save me time, energy, and money in the long run. You know, so when I came home, I like hit the ground running, and man, I had that band on my leg, and I'm telling you, I walked like up and down Lincoln Highway in Madison. So I left the Chicago area, came out to Madison, and until I got hired at LA Fitness. Worked there for a couple of years, passed out memberships for people to come to the gym, and one day I ended up passing out a membership to a lady. You know, I'm still out here. I'm low key. You know, like I'm trying to sell and get the membership up so I can move up higher and get more money. And when I met the lady, she was like, "Is this your gym?" I was like, "No, it's not my gym." You know what I'm saying, right? She's like, "No, you're going real hard for it, right?" I'm trying to get this commission, right? And she was like, "I'll tell you what, I come up to the gym and work out if you come up to my job." And I was like, "Where do you work?" You know what I'm saying? And what you do? And she was like, "I train social workers. And I'm a professor at Governor State." And I was like, "Oh, okay." She was like, "So, man, if you will come sit in my class, come do that, I come on up into the gym. We got a deal?" I'm like, "That." I'm still trying to get the commission, y'all. You know, right? And I'm so thankful that I went to that woman's class. I tell you, I walked into that university. And let me tell you something about trauma, too. Like, as soon as I stepped into the building, it felt like another institution, right? Like the first thing that came to my mind was K82867, like what I felt like when I was at Menard. And I'm gonna tell y'all too, I will go back to the day I got released and all that stuff too. I'll tell y'all about that on another day. I got plenty of stories to share with y'all. But it felt like an institution. I almost felt like I ain't belong there. The trauma was just kicking in, you know. And it was like 18 women in the class. So I'll never forget that. It was like one other guy inside the class, a white guy. It wasn't no black guys inside the class. It was just me and this white guy, right? With 18 women. And they conversations, every time it was a conversation and they wanted a man's point of view, like all eyes was on us. I was like, this is way too much attention right here. This is more than I bargained for. And after the class was over, Dr. West was like, "Do you see why I asked you to come here?" I was like, "I think so." She was like, "Your voice is needed. It's necessary. So, you know, this is where you belong. Can you see yourself here?" And at the time, I really couldn't. I would say out loud that I could, but I really couldn't. But I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "All right, come to open house." And I'm so thankful that I did that. I'm so thankful that Dr. West sent me there, and she sent me to Dr. Glass. And when I came to the open house, I was whispering. I was like, "Yo, I want to sign up to come to school. And I don't know if you guys, I got a background and everything." She was like, "What?" I said, "I got a background." She's like, "Why are you whispering?" Right? And she could just see that trauma all over me, right? And she was like, "Black man, like, it's your right to be here. It's your right to be here." And that's the first time I heard that, you know. And, I thank her so much for giving me that. And that was what, 2011, because I came home in 2009, and I graduated with my bachelor's in social work in 2014, I do believe. And it was the craziest thing in the world because I got to see Dr. West right before I walked across the stage. I forget what the position is, but she got on the whole, "You did." I get ready to walk by. She was like, "Hey, young fella." I looked at her, man, crocodile tears. Right? She gave me a hug like, "What I tell you? You know, what I tell you? I told you you could do this, right?" And man, it felt so good. She was like, "So what's next?" I was like, "I don't know." She was like, "You gotta come up with it. Come on now, ain't no time." I was like, "Well, let me just walk across the stage and get this degree right here." And then I think about it. She was like, "Ain't no time for that." I was like, "I guess I'm going back to school." She was like, "Yup, I'll see you next semester."